During the Clone Wars, Bactoid Combat Automata's B-Series battle droids were the bread and butter of the CIS army. Virtually all Star Wars fans are familiar with the famous B-1 battle droid and its younger brother, the B-2 super battle droid. But what about the B-3? Most fans are completely unaware there was a third entry in this classic droid series, as the B-3 Ultra Battle Droid was a very rare sight on the battlefields of the Clone Wars. In this video, we'll be discussing why that was, as well as the history and specs of this little known battle droid model.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
In the first Battle of Geonosis, Bactoid Combat Automata's latest droid model, the B-2 Super Battle Droid, proved itself on the first battlefield of the Clone Wars. Despite the Confederacy's defeat in this battle, the new droids were deemed a success by Bactoid and the Techno Union, and as the Clone Wars rapidly escalated, they looked into designing even more effective droids. Just as the B-2 was a major improvement over the fragile B-1s, the B-3 was meant to put the B-2 to shame, capable of outmatching even Jedi Masters. These dreams of an unstoppable battle droid set a high bar for B-3 design proposals, and the Techno Union upped the stakes even further by having its designers compete against each other. The best and brightest design teams in the Techno Union would each come up with their own take on the B-3, and whichever droid proved the most effective would be given the coveted B-3 designation. Two of the Techno Union's design teams quickly emerged as the frontrunners in this contest, one based on Foundry and one based on Metalorn. The Metalorn team had the backing of the Techno Union foreman Wat Tambor, who had a major stronghold on the planet. Their design prioritized being able to stand up to Jedi, incorporating lightsaber-resistant Cortosis armor and high-intensity laser cannons, and closely resembled the B-2. It was a delicate but highly effective design. The Foundry team, on the other hand, focused on making the most overpowered war machine imaginable. Their prototype, the Avatar 7, was twice the height of a B-2, was armored like a tank, and featured blaster cannons, plasma cannons, a flamethrower, and a built-in guided missile launcher. While the Cortosis Droids took a very precise approach to outmatching Jedi, the Avatar 7 went with the tried and true tactic of just using more DACA. 5 months after the first Battle of Geonosis, the two prototypes were presented to General Grievous, the newly appointed CIS Supreme Commander. Grievous, who was never one for subtlety, chose the Avatar 7 as the winner of the contest. The Avatar 7 was reclassified at the B-3 Ultra Battle Droid and entered production. The runner-up became the C-B-3 Cortosis Battle Droid, and despite its defeat in the competition, Wat Tambor made sure it entered production as well, albeit in limited numbers. The finished B-3 was an absolute nightmare for the Grand Army of the Republic. The droid's massive size allowed it to wear armor comparable to a tank, making it absurdly difficult to destroy. Its main arms boasted a tight spray flamethrower and a wide spray plasma cannon, while two smaller arms on its abdomen featured rapid-firing blaster cannons. The launcher built into its left shoulder could fire off two highly sophisticated tracking missiles, which had tracking capabilities so sophisticated they could arguably be classified as sentient. The finishing touch for the droids was a density projector, which allowed the B-3 to vastly increase its weight, rendering it temporarily immobile and all but impossible to knock over. The B-3 made its first appearance in the Battle of Iktoch, when one unit battled Jedi Masters Mace Windu and Saesee Tiin, two of the greatest Jedi of all time. Despite their formidable skills, Windu and Tiin both failed to defeat the B-3 individually and had to work together to outsmart the fearsome machine. They were ultimately able to destroy the droid by crushing it under a downed Hellfire droid, but it was a close call, and the Jedi Masters walked away from the fight deeply shaken. After Iktoch, the B-3 saw deployment all over the galaxy. The Confederacy never had any illusions of deploying the droids in vast quantities, as they were much too expensive to produce for that to be viable. Instead, the B-3 was typically used as a stand-in for droidicas, which were even more expensive. Ultra battle droids were typically used in frontal assaults on heavily fortified Republic positions, as miniature tanks in field battles, or as guards for important installations. Republic forces struggled to combat these fearsome battle droids. Not even Jedi could reliably take them down, and clones stood little chance of surviving encounters with Ultra Battle Droids. Fortunately for the Republic, however, it soon emerged that the B3 had a design flaw. Most Ultra Battle Droid models had issues with their density projectors, which would activate randomly and then fail to shut down. On battlefields all over the galaxy, these Ultra Battle Droids would suddenly lock up and remain frozen in place, unable to shut off their density projectors. Republic forces were able to exploit this and easily defeat the droids, which became sitting ducks for artillery fire. Factoid hastily recalled the entire Ultra Battle Droid line in response to this problem. For years, the engineers struggled to fix the density projectors. B3s were redeployed at several points during the Clone Wars, only for their density projectors to act up again and get them destroyed. It was only at the end of the conflict, during the Outer Rim sieges, that Factoid cut their losses and just removed the density projector from the B3 design. Once more, the Ultra Battle Droid became a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield, but it showed up too late to change the course of the Clone Wars. The CIS was defeated soon after the B3's reintroduction. But what about those other B3s, the Cortosis Droids we mentioned earlier? Thanks to the sponsorship of Wat Tambor, they also saw action in the Clone Wars, if only for a short time. As we mentioned earlier, these droids were designed with the express purpose of fighting Jedi, and they were quite good at their job. Their Cortosis armor made them invulnerable to lightsabers, forcing Jedi to get creative with the Force to bring them down. Their high-intensity laser cannons were even more powerful than the blaster cannons of the B2 and had an even higher rate of fire, which kept Jedi on the defensive. Combined, these two attributes meant only the greatest Jedi stood a chance against the CB3. To test these new Cortosis droids, Wat Tambor dispatched them against one of the most high-value targets in the galaxy, the Jedi Temple. While separatist agitators distracted the Coruscant Guard with an insurrection, a strike force of CB3s landed at the Jedi Temple and stormed the archives, killing many Jedi and leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. After a chaotic battle, the droids cut their losses and left, but not before Jedi Padawan Anakin Skywalker figured out a way to defeat the CB3s. As it turned out, the CB3 also had a weakness. Its Cortosis armor was tightly attached to its inner shell in form-fitting plates, but there was a tiny gap between part of the droid's breastplates, which Jedi could get their lightsabers through with very precise vertical slashes. Skywalker used this technique to destroy several CB3s during the Coruscant insurrection, and he taught it to other Jedi defending the temple, helping them crush these new droids. Wat Tambor and Count Dooku were impressed by the CB3's effectiveness at Coruscant, but Darth Sidious was much less enthusiastic. It wasn't that he didn't think they were effective enough, mind you, he thought they were too effective. Fearing that the CB3 could upset the balance of the Clone Wars, Sidious leaked the location of Wat Tambor's Metalorn factory to the Jedi, who sent Anakin Skywalker to lay waste to the facility. There, Skywalker encountered heavy resistance, but the element of surprise gave him an advantage over the factory's separatist defenders. Skywalker managed to destroy the Cortosis droid factory and capture Wat Tambor, ending the production of the CB3 in one fell swoop. So those are the stories of the B3 Ultra Battle Droid and its cousin, the CB3 Cortosis Battle Droid. But what do you think? Are there other lesser known droid models you'd like to see us talk about? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.